Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you a time lapse of my 100 heads in 10 days challenge. I'll post a link to the Pinterest board in my description so you can see where the references for all these heads are. For day one, I decided to use pencil. I used various shades of pencils to try out these different heads. I started out really small and I found I didn't like that working small. So I went for like a medium size and it felt like a little bit better. I rarely draw pictures of old people or even men, so this was a great challenge for me to get out of my comfort zone. I'm doing this in an Etchr sketchbook hot press paper, so it's actually very smooth, so it allows me to use the stump very easily. Day one was particularly hard for me. It's been a long time since I've ever done a challenge like this. It took me several hours to get just 10 pictures done. You'll notice that I didn't really focus on compositions here. I just wanted to start right away and just go through the pictures in the order that they show up in the Pinterest board. As the day wore on, my drawings got a little bit faster. I was getting into the groove of it, which was surprising for me since it did take me about 4 or 5 hours to get to this point. You'll notice that I actually prefer using a soft pencil than a hard pencil to do these drawings. So day two started out a bit of a disaster. I forgot to actually turn on my camera to record the first couple of pieces. I used a rainbow pencil which I found at a local store. I will put in the description where to find it on Amazon. I love the effect that it gave. You never knew what color would come out as you're drawing. I didn't use a stump for this one. I used a lot of cross hatches to create shadows. This pencil is very soft and required a lot of sharpening over time. I ended up using almost half the pencil by the end of the 10th image. For day three, I used a Conté Crayon. I created a faux wash for the background using the crayon. The crayon itself is a rectangle square shape, so there was really no sharp points to it. This didn't really allow me to work on fine details. I used the stump a lot to try to create some finer details, but it was really hard to maneuver. At this point, I just stopped focusing on exactness and like fine details and just focused on getting the shadow and the shapes right. This medium is perfect for that. It's basically a learning tool that allows you to focus on shapes and shadows versus details. For day four, I used a gel pen. This was really interesting in that I had to go in without any pencil, and you have to be really confident in your choices. I was not, and you can tell in the portraits that I wasn't sure what I was doing. But the more I did it, the more I got comfortable with doing the cross hatches, when to place them and when not to place them. I liked doing the cross hatches in the same direction. For me, that makes it look like that's where the shadows are coming from. For the next couple of drawings, I actually used a pencil just as a base so that I know how to draw my next line. I think maybe for the next challenge, I probably want to do more like confident line drawings where I don't need to draw a sketch first and just go right in. That would be an interesting idea as well. So for day five, I used Tombow brushes in the gray collection. These brushes are basically vinyl markers. This was interesting that like I got to use the lightest gray as a base drawing sketch. And then I used different colors and worked up towards the darker tones. And this is actually one of my favorite tools to use overall. I think it worked really well with these gnarly looking faces, and so you're really just focusing on the shadows versus the actual portraitures. So for day six, I am using a pointed nib on an oblique holder with Sumi ink. Sumi ink is not supposed to bleed, so that when you want to do a wash over it, like the lines will stay as is. This one I did it like a gel pen where I worked directly into the drawing, I was definitely much more confident in my drawings rather than the gel pen, which was a couple days ago. You can see like my drawings, I immediately draw, there's no sketching involved, and I definitely felt really good about how I got to this point. So day 7 was kind of a letdown. I used the new pastel, which normally I would really like. These tools I had never used before. I normally use a regular chalk pastel. This was brand new out of a box, and it worked well in one color, but then in the red color it just would not work. I was incredibly disappointed by it, and I threw it out. So day 8, I used colored pencils. These colored pencils are actually water soluble, so you can actually mix water and it becomes like a watercolor. But I chose to use it as a pencil, and I love it. It is so soft and smooth. It works so well. It blends really well, and even though I sketch out a base, as I lay it on top of it, like the base kind of disappears, which is really nice. I use this for all these gnarly old men, and I just really loved how it came out. The last couple ones are jar heads, so they're really overemphasized and stylized, which is so fun to do. Day 9 is Monotone Watercolor. This is a lot like using the Tombow brushes, but I layered it using only one color at a time based on saturation. And this was also another one of those which I was really not confident at first, but as I got into it, it got better and better, and I really enjoyed it. This laid the foundation for the last day of the challenge. It allowed me to work on tone values, which helped me to the next project. So for the very last day, I did a full color watercolor. I thought I had 98, but I only had 97. So I had to do 3 paintings here, so I had to choose 3 that I really liked. So this one, I really like the bright orange and the blue. Surprisingly, I wasn't sure how I would feel about this, but it was actually one of my favorite painting. This one I thought I would really like painting, but it turned out I didn't like painting this one at all. So with watercolor, there's a lot of layering involved, and I kept going back and forth, and I just wasn't really happy with the way this one came out at all. I used a micron pen to finish out pieces that I didn't like. So for the last painting, I spent a little bit more time. This one actually took me the longest of the entire series. I really spent time and enjoyed myself in this one, and I have to say this is the best painting I've done in a very long time. So typically I don't like to color the background. I find it can be a bit too much, but it turned out having the black background with the black hair worked out really well. I used a lot of gold, so it was really fun to do. So that's it for my 100 head project. Thanks for watching.